Hey musical humans, I am Robert from A&G Central Music, and this is some really good advice. So gang, today is the third installment and the last one in our discussion of Step Up in Professional Instruments. And today we're going to discuss some tips and tricks on choosing the right instrument for you. Now, there's more than a couple pitfalls along the way, so hopefully some of what we discussed today will help you to make a good decision for an instrument that could quite possibly be the last instrument that you ever need to buy. So we're going to cover three basic areas when it comes to shopping for this professional instrument. The first one is what brand means and should mean to you. We're going to talk a little bit about the appearance of the instruments, and then we're going to spend some time discussing how to properly audition an instrument that you might be interested in purchasing. So let's get started. So let's start today's discussion with a little bit of thought towards the brands that are available on the market. Okay? Sometimes the brand is a really important consideration in your choice, and sometimes it shouldn't be an important consideration in your choice. An example of when the brand isn't important. A brand shouldn't be important because a friend of yours told you it's the best brand, or an artist that you really respect plays that brand, because in the end, that doesn't really mean much to you as an individual player, right? We also see folks come in looking for a specific brand or model because someone has told them that's the instrument they should buy. Well, sometimes that can be good advice, yet you are an individual and your performance style is individual, and the music that's inside you is very personal to you, and so selection of that instrument should be equally personal to you. Okay? Now, sometimes the brand can be important. Things to consider about brands. There are many mature and established brands in the musical instrument product space. Okay? One thing that dealing with a mature established brand gives you is the ability to look at their track record. How have their instruments held up over time? What kind of support do they give their customers? Okay? At the same time, there are a lot of smaller brands, newer brands, micro brands that offer a great value proposition. And while you may not be able to see how they've stood the test of time, you can still investigate that brand and get information on how they treat their customers. I would say the most important thing to you as a user of an instrument in the way that you interface with the brand is going to be what kind of support you can expect from that brand. Okay? How good is their warranty coverage? How long is that warranty coverage for? And how long will this manufacturer support your instrument with parts? If we think about this for a minute, these instruments are often instruments that we're going to be keeping for a very long period of time. Perhaps it'll be the last new instrument that you ever purchase. And if that's the case, you want a manufacturer who's going to support you with repair parts and replacement parts for a very long period of time. So this is when doing a little bit of research on your brand is important. And while we're on the discussion of brands, I think it's also important to talk about where we buy an instrument. There's a lot of choices available, and obviously this is maybe a little bit self-serving as we are a retailer. But questions to ask yourself are, can I try the instrument that I'm going to buy before I purchase it? Okay? Is service available to me locally by someone I trust? And then what are the pre-delivery and post-delivery benefits of dealing with the person that I'm going to purchase this instrument from? Has it been inspected and set up and looked over for quality and manufacturer defects before you receive it, so that you know that when you get it in your hands, it is perfect? And then similarly, after you go through the break-in period on your instrument, is that company going to take it back and service it for you and make sure that everything is perfect for you going forward? These are things to consider. Let's take a second and let's talk about the appearance of new musical instruments, okay? Some of them are really super attractive, and I am personally drawn to these instruments. They have such a stunning visual appeal that they make me want to play them, okay? That's all part of the package of getting a step up a professional instrument, but we need to be careful. We need to be careful that we're buying with our ears and not with our eyes, okay? There are a lot of things that folks coming in looking for a step up a professional instrument tell me that they want to have. Sometimes they'll come in, especially on trumpets, and they'll say, I want to have a silver-plated trumpet. And I'll ask the question, why do you want to have a silver-plated trumpet? If you remember our discussion about materials, there are specific sonic reasons to have a silver-plated trumpet. That said, certainly not everyone who's a professional trumpet player plays or uses a silver-plated instrument. Look at great players like Wynton Marsalis or Arturo Sandoval or Bobby Shew. None of those players use an instrument that's silver-plated. They get great tone. So that's a perfect instance of let's buy with our ears, not with our eyes. A couple of things to consider is really in vogue right now to have an instrument with a matte finish, especially on saxophones. Some of these matte finished instruments are lacquered, some of them are not. As you recall from our discussions earlier, the lacquer makes a big difference, but the matte finish on the instrument is primarily something that adds visual appeal. Also, there's a lot of choices now revolving around lacquers. It used to be that we would just put clear or gold lacquer on instruments. Now we have all different color choices, which is exciting, and it allows you to kind of take a more personal take on your professional instrument. That said, keep in mind that if you get an instrument with a special color lacquer on it, if you ever do put a dent in it or need repair, getting that instrument to look like new again is going to be expensive and in some cases not even possible. So we should focus on how the instrument feels to us when we play it and how it sounds first, and then how it looks. The last thing I'd kind of like to discuss with you today are some tips and tricks on auditioning an instrument. As I mentioned earlier, it is extremely important, in my view, to audition an instrument before you purchase it. Don't take someone else's word that it's good for you. Only you will know if it's good for you. So, when you come to audition an instrument, the first thing I would recommend is to bring a mouthpiece, or if in the case of a woodwind player, a mouthpiece reed and ligature setup, and in case of a string player, a bow that you're comfortable with. Okay? What we want to do is we want to remove as many variables as we can so that we're just auditioning the actual instrument. So playing on your regular mouthpiece or bow setup, I think is important in evaluating the instrument only. We can always audition mouthpieces, ligatures, reeds, and bows separately. Okay? I also think it's important to play through your normal warm-up routine as a part of auditioning the instrument. I see many students and even adults and even professionals come in to audition an instrument, and they go into a practice room, put the instrument on their face or under their chin, and just start playing without going through their warm-up routine. I think if you want good results, warm up, long tones, right? And then it's important that you play a variety of styles. Play legato, play staccato, play fast, play slowly, okay? Don't necessarily come in with one particular piece of music and just play that back to back to back and say, okay, now I've evaluated these instruments. Really give them a chance. Try to reach both the apex in terms of volume that you can get out of an instrument and the least volume you can get out of an instrument and still produce a pure tone. Okay, this is going to help you evaluate the instrument well. And the last thing I would say about it is take your time. Take your time and don't be afraid to compare it to the instrument that you're currently playing. Play instruments back to back. If you have narrowed down choices to maybe 2 different instruments, then take time and audition those 2 different instruments again back to back. And if you notice yourself getting tired during the process of auditioning the instrument, then it's okay to stop, take a break, or even come back and audition the instruments on another day. I think these are, in some cases, small things, but they will help you to choose the best instrument for you. And in the end, this is what we want through all of these things. We don't want the brand that someone else wants for you. We want the brand that you want. We don't want the appearance to outweigh the playing experience and the sound of the instrument, and we want to make sure that we have done everything we can to know that the way the instrument plays and sounds in your hands is going to make you happy well into the future. In the end, searching for that step up or professional instrument is a really exciting time, and I hope that some of the tips and tricks that we talked about today will be helpful to you in your search. If you think that these types of videos are useful, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you all very soon.